know what? Let's try that one more time. Sorry. It's a little better. But you know what? I don't think it's right. Let me just do it one more time. That feels pretty cool. Hi, and thanks for having me here today. But I have to admit something before we get started. It's going to define our relationship moving forward. I have superpowers. That was shape-shifting, but we'll get back to that in a minute. I also dabble in time travel, predicting the future, immortality, and invisibility. And you're probably thinking, and you're probably wondering, well, prove it, right? Well, what if I could do one better? What if I could share them with you? Listen closely. I'll only reveal this once, and you'll be able to take these secrets and immediately transform your life and the way you work. So that entrance was weird, right? How I got into your mind a little bit, made you perceive me and my talk differently just by changing the music. We might not even speak the same language, yet I was able to tell you something about me. Better yet, make you feel something. And that's the power of sound. Sound provides emotional context, and it guides you on how to feel. And I believe shape-shifting is a superpower of sound, that ability to change perception and experience just by changing the emotional context. Let's try something. How many of you today have used a form of augmented reality? Raise your hand. Okay, a few. How many of you today woke up to an alarm or listened to music on their way here? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few more of you. Now, do you understand where I'm headed? If you've woke up to a sound on your alarm or listened to your favorite playlist when you're on the go, you've actually used AR. In fact, we augment our realities every day. We shift them, most notably with music and sound. And this tension between something old that we've been doing for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and the new, these discussions around augmented reality or new technologies is fascinating to me. I study culture and trends and try to understand how that fits in with music and sound and how people consume music and sound. So it was a personal aha moment for me when I realized, wait, we already have all the know-how we need to create and augment great experiences because our life experience with sound is a transferable skill, even for a non-musician like me. Now, I can't transform myself into a music virtuoso, but I can transform my mood and my environment simply by changing the sound. So time travel was the first power I discovered, and it's probably my favorite, and it's more common than you may think. The fuel is a powerful emotional connection, one that's implanted in your initial memory and then recalled later in life. My favorite example of this happened a few years ago, and actually it was caught on video. The background story that I understand, a boy and his mother were living in the Congo at the time, and they were shopping in a Chinese grocery store. And the mom heard a song playing overhead that she really liked, and she tried to talk to the shop owner about it, and he gave her the tape of the song. So she brought it home and would listen to it all the time, singing along, even though it was a different language. They didn't know anything about it. But the boy came to associate that song with his mother. A few years later, they moved to South Africa, and unfortunately, the tape was lost. And sadly, his mother passed away a few years later. So he was heartbroken that he had lost the song that connected him to his mother. When he got older, he became a cab driver, and remembering he first heard it in that Chinese grocery store, would often hum it whenever an Asian person got in his cab, hoping that they would know this song. And he did that for nearly 20 years, but no one ever knew it. Until one day, a Taiwanese couple got into the cab, and they knew it immediately. And here's a little video of what happened. It's really emotional. That's okay. Don't worry. It's on YouTube. Just Google it. But it's a powerful moment of a man who doesn't even understand the language, but crying and reconnecting with this song that was the memory trigger that brought him back to his mother. He time traveled. And music, again, was that memory trigger. And that memory brought with it emotion. And I believe that time travel is a superpower of sound, that ability to bring people back to the past, part of an emotional, personal connection. And I think brands have gotten wise to this too, this idea of a memory trigger. A lot of brands use what we call a sonic logo or an audio logo, a sound associated with their brand, hopefully triggering you to remember the positive experiences you had with them. So Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and in the United States, AT&T all use these sounds in hopes that you remember that positive experience you had with them, invoking time travel and this memory trigger. So sound can get us into the past, but can it take us to the future? Can it help us predict the future? I actually think it can, if we take a cue from cinema. Director George Lucas says, half of the experience of watching a film is the sound. And if you ever watch your favorite movie with the sound off, you'll hear why. That musical score guides us on how to feel and when to feel it, both by its musical composition and even the volume. And Tufts University studied this, actually. They took film clips, replaced the musical score, and studied people's reactions. And what they found was that viewers' perceptions changed. Not only did their emotion change when the music changed, but so did their understanding of the characters' relationships, as well as their predictions of what would happen next. So what they learned from the study were sort of three important things: that sound can create expectations, sound can build associations that aren't implicitly implied, and sound can also let you know whether a story is resolved or not. And sometimes the score can be too impactful. If you're ever scared of a film or watching a horror film and feeling frightened, don't cover your eyes, actually cover your ears. If you turn down that sound, you'll turn off the effect that it has on you. So I do believe that sound has a superpower of predicting the future, letting you know what's about to happen next. But why is this? Like, why are we wired for this? I believe it's inherent in us. We don't have to be taught. I think you just have to be human. And while there are some cultural nuances, sort of similar to visual semiotics is how I like to think about it, where for the most part, red means stop, green means go. In that same way, music is a universal language. We all know how it makes us feel, no matter the language. And I think even though our multi-sensory worlds are different, we share the fact that we most often hear sound first. It's one of the first senses that impacts us. So you could say that sound is the organizer of our assumptions. So for example, imagine being in a forest and you hear a twig break or snap. You need to immediately know whether that was from the weight of a bear or the weight of a squirrel. And the way that we interpret sound tells us that story and allows us to take action. So I also believe in immortality, or the ability to live forever. And what that means for me with sound is meaning and longevity. So imagine the ding of an elevator as it rises to your floor, or even your Apple iPhone when it lets you know your email has been sent. You know, I get delighted whenever I hear that swish of the paper airplane flying away, but some of you might feel a ping of regret if you hear it before you finish typing your message, right? And these audio cues help us navigate the world. They let us know what's going on quickly and efficiently. And I think as I look at culture again, the communication landscape is changing. You know, before we were in a very communication-focused place, a one-way conversation between the brand or the business and the consumer, a monologue of sorts. But we're definitely in a more experience-focused world now. It's a dialogue, it's a two-way conversation. And because brands and businesses are looking for that conversation, they need to have meaning. They're actually really looking for meaning. And I think they can find that meaning through sound. Especially in the next 5 years, I really believe the future is in sound. as we break away from screens and computers and phones, things and tools that we felt were once really efficient, made us faster and smarter, aren't they starting to get in our way a little bit? We want to use our voice commands. We want to be doing even more things without holding anything or looking at a screen. And I think sound can, quote unquote, live forever because it goes beyond the screen. It can convey messaging and information without you having to look at something else. So I do believe that immortality is a superpower of sound, that ability to go beyond the screen and to convey meaning quickly. So close your eyes for a minute, take a deep breath, and just listen to this room. It's seemingly vanished, or has it? The person next to you, your own breath, even the buzz of electricity, it's still here, which is interesting because what happens in this audio-first future when all visuals are stripped away? Actually, you can open your eyes now. You know, some people would say, well, if visuals are stripped away, then do we lose our design? Do you lose your character? Do you lose your identity? I think it's important to think about how are you going to build your business or your brand or your product without visuals in the way. And I think sound can play a really important role there too. In fact, it can enhance character when there are no visuals to respond to. I also think it's important to think about sound in terms of not only where it shows up when visuals are stripped away, but what happens when the sound itself is stripped away. And I'm getting to this idea of invisibility, right? In our world, we call this sonic white space, the area of removing sound in order to enhance other experiential elements. And whether it's true silence or even perceived silence, it's important. I think Disney theme parks does this really well. For example, they'll add bird sounds into their bushes and landscapes so you don't hear the airplanes going overhead, which would break you from the magic. They also have what I would call like a palate cleanser, these areas of calm as you transition between different lands, so you don't get sonic fatigue or overwhelmed. And I think as you're building experiences or even, again, augmenting your own life, these moments of rest are important in our really loud and noisy world. So I do think that invisibility is a superpower of sound. That ability to enhance character and be a strong design element when no visuals are present, but at the same time, be an area of calm, of contrast, so that there is no chaos. Yeah, that's a lot of powers, actually, to work with right now. So I think overall, if you're in business, you're actually in the business of design. And experience is now expected from consumers and everyone. So I think looking at those powers is an interesting place to start and something that you can even do today on your way home or at your home. The idea that sound allows you to shapeshift or augment your reality. The idea that sound is a memory trigger and allows you to time travel back to some of your favorite moments, or in the case of heartbreak, maybe your least favorite moments. That sound can let you predict the future, that using it strategically can let people know what's going to happen next. And that sound has the power of invisibility to, again, blend in, be perceived silence, give you those areas of calm, or potentially represent a character or an identity in a place where there is no screen. And I think sound has the power of immortality to continue to live on as our technology and communications change. Sound will always be there to tell more stories. So I hope I was able to convey that the power of sound is influential because it's inescapable. And I hope that after this, we all hear the world a little bit differently. Thank you.